Welcome, dear listeners, to Broadcast from Elsewhere. My name is Enigma, and I'm your host, of course. And welcome to episode 2 for our Christmas specials. Today, do I have a treat for you? Say something you guys would not know about me, because I've never brought it up yet, would be that I absolutely love the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I grew up watching them and reading the comics a little bit too, so you can imagine my interest and somewhat excitement when I found out that there was a Ninja Turtles Christmas special some years ago. I've since seen this special, which is called We Wish You a Turtle Christmas. Awful title, first of all, but I've since watched this special 5 times, I think now. Maybe more like 4. Either way, at least 2 of those times was voluntarily, so I might have a problem mentally, but that's okay. I first learned of this special actually from a review on YouTube. I believe the first time I ever saw it was on Channel Awesome's channel on YouTube, which is the, you might know better as the Nostalgia Critic channel. Anyways, he had put out a review of it a long time ago, and after watching that review, for some reason, I decided, yeah, you know what, I'll go watch that. I want to see this with my own eyes, you know? Despite having just watched a review about how awful it was, I still said, I want to know, I want to watch this, I need to see it, is what I basically thought. And at some point, I ended up watching it again after that. I do not know why, I do not know what possessed me to do so, but I did. By myself, by the way. I wasn't like watching it with a friend or like showing it to my brother or something who also loves the Turtles. No, I just sat down one day and said, yeah, let's watch that awful shit again, why not? I've since also showed it to my awful media group that I'm in, and also watched it a 4th time now to take notes and bring you this episode. So please appreciate my sacrifices. Now, this special is a musical special, which I can only imagine, I could not really find proof, but I can only imagine it came about after, as a result of the surprising success of the Coming Out of Our Shells tour that they had back in 1990. You see, in 1990, some brave soul had the bright idea to make a rock concert tour for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Now you may be saying, Enigma, that makes no fucking sense. And you're right, it doesn't. So how this tour worked was they pre-recorded a bunch of songs. These were all original songs, by the way. Like, they wrote them up, brand new songs about the Turtles and whatnot, and they would pre-record them and then play them on the stage with actors running around in the suits pretending to play the instruments. This tour featured Donatello on keys, Leonardo on the bass guitar, Michelangelo on the guitar and lead vocals, and Raphael on drums and saxophone and also vocals. We also see appearances by Master Splinter and April O'Neil, and even the Shredder, their main nemesis, who would come in near the end of the show to essentially try to stop the show. He would do this because he wanted to get rid of music or something. They had this whole, made up plot for why he wanted to get rid of music in this world, which really doesn't make any sense, but sure, why not? Because, Shredder's whole deal is, his whole thing is basically just the main cartoon bad guy thing, where it's like, oh, we're gonna take over the world together and all this kind of stuff, you know? So, but he would bring on this machine along with his scientist, not sidekick, but what do you call it? Henchman, I suppose, would be the best word for it. Baxter Stockman. And they had this machine called the D-Harmonic Convergence Converter, which they would bring out, and it would steal all the music away in the world, apparently, and it also conveniently weakens the Turtles to the point where they have to run off the stage and just part the stuff. And then the Shredder would sing a song titled I Hate Music, which has got to be the most counterintuitive way to make your point. Regardless of all of that, they would eventually win the fight, and yeah. So that tour ran for about 2 years. It went from 1990 to 91 throughout the US and Canada, and in 92 it would also go international. They would hit up Mexico, Puerto Rico, France, Sweden, and Argentina. I think one of the funniest things about this tour was because of the fact that the music was already pre-recorded. That just meant that, the actors didn't have to do any actual performing, which led to a lot of mishaps where there would be times where the instruments would be playing, but the turtles would not be playing them, or the music would start before they even started to touch the instruments, or even pretend to mime that they were playing anything. And this led to them having to make an actual, lore reasoning as for why that happened. And they stated that Donatello invented the instruments, basically, and made them play automatically. Because sure, why not? This little tour also got a VHS release, as well as a pay-per-view that you could purchase back when it was still running. And in the pay-per-view, you got to see some interviews done by April and some other guy named Kip Pleading, who I don't recognize from Turtle Media, to be honest with you. I think he might have been made up for this whole thing, because I've never heard of him before in my life. He was supposed to be an assistant reporter to April, apparently, so... Anywho. And after the surprising success of that, because the album from that tour went triple platinum. I am not kidding. And also, that same tour was even endorsed and sponsored by Pizza Hut. Pizza Hut. Speaking of pizza, you could even, while this tour was going on, if you happened to have a dine-in Pizza Hut that you could go to, you could play 2 of the songs on their jukebox inside. They had 2 remixed versions of the songs from the tour available in their jukeboxes. They had the Coming Out of Their Shells song and the song Count on Us, which is actually kind of good, and I hate to say that. After the success of this tour, we got another mini tour called Getting Down in Your Town, and this tour ran through amusement parks, mostly Six Flags, from what I can see. And that one was a little less successful due to the production value being even lower, especially including they included Casey Jones during this one, and his costume looks god-awful. He looks like he's Hannibal Lecter almost, honestly, more than he does Casey Jones. See, Casey Jones is supposed to wear a hockey mask, for those of you who do not know. So Casey Jones was a human vigilante who would carry around different sports gear to take on the bad guys. He would have usually a hockey stick, a hockey mask for protection and for, keeping his identity secret, a baseball bat, and a golf club usually. Those are the main things he would usually carry around. Their quote-unquote hockey mask that they put on this actor looked god-awful, and it looked more to me, as if he was Bane or Hannibal Lecter. Anyways, after that was 93. After that, the next musical project that we would get would be in 1994. See, before I started researching for this episode, I had known about the Coming Out of Their Shells tour, and I knew about this here Christmas thing. I did not know about the Getting It Down in Your Town, or about another special that came out as well, titled Turtle Tunes, which is about the Turtles getting their own variety TV show thanks to April O'Neil. And that results in a whole another musical special where they just go around singing different remixes of children's songs with new lyrics, more or less. Almost like a parody, but done sincerely. There's even a freaking Don't Talk to Strangers song in that. But all this eventually led to We Wish You a Turtle Christmas, also in 94. And it has got to be one of the worst Christmas specials you could wish for. I'd say it's up there with the Star Wars Holiday Special, probably. Now, We Wish You a Turtle Christmas was never aired on TV, from what I can tell. It was actually released direct-to-video, which I originally had thought it was actually on TV, but no. So yeah, you could go to your local Blockbuster around this time and you could rent out this video. Because even torturing yourself can't be free in this capitalist hellscape, apparently. So, now you may be wondering, what in God's name is We Wish You a Turtle Christmas about? Well, I'll tell you. It's all about the turtles forgetting to buy Splinter a gift, and them going to get a gift. And that sounds like a simple enough premise and a nice enough idea. I kind of just wish it was done in a cartoon, though, because one thing I've forgotten to mention this whole time is how god-awful the freaking animatronic suits look. I don't even know if they're actually animatronic, or if they're just, like, supposed to open when the people open their mouths, or what, but these suits are awful. It's like, ever since the first TMNT movie, the suits just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And not to mention the, like, lip syncing, if you want to call it that. That does not always work either. So, let's go ahead and walk through this Christmas nightmare together, why don't we? So, spoilers ahead for it, but, I mean, I don't think you guys care. Now, for those of you who may not be familiar with Turtles media, if you've never watched anything TMNT related, you might be wondering a little bit about, like, what any of this means, right? So I'll give you a brief synopsis before we get into the plot here. You see, turtles were once pet turtles inside of a pet store, right? One day, a boy purchases them, and when he's on his way out of the pet store, at some point, on his way home, he trips and drops them, and their glass bowl that he was carrying them in shatters, and they all fall into the sewer drain. Now, it just so happens that a tube of, they just call ooze, but it's called mutagen, is the actual term for it. It just so happens a tube of mutagen had also fell down there and cracked open. Mutagen came from this other company that becomes important later on in the story because of this fact, but that's a little bit more complex, and we're just going to try to give you a brief synopsis. So, the main point is that the mutagen is in the sewer as well, and they fell into the pool of the mutagen, because they fell down the same sewer hole somehow, just by the grace of God or whatever. And at the same time, there was also a human living in the sewers. You see, there was a man by the name of Hamato Yoshi, who hailed from Japan. He was a ninja master who had his own clan. His clan was taken down by another master by the name of Oroku Saki, who was part of the Foot clan. This Oroku Saki goes by the moniker of the Shredder, which you will hear referenced at least once in the special, and he's the main nemesis of the Turtles throughout the series, most of the time. Sometimes he dies, but that's beside the point. Hamato, after having his clan basically destroyed and whatnot, fled Japan and came to America, to New York City. And he basically was homeless and lived among the rats in the sewer. One day in the sewer, he comes upon those turtles who are landing in the mutagen. He sees them wandering around in this ooze, and instead of, thinking twice at all, he picks them up out of this possibly radioactive goo and just, cleans them off and stuff and whatever. But to his surprise, they begin to mutate. And the way the cartoon explains it is that because of the fact they were in contact with a human most recently, being either Hamato or the boy that bought them, they then began to morph into humanoid turtles. Hamato, since he had been around the rats in the sewer, he began to morph into a rat, or mutate into a rat rather. So now we have a humanoid rat and the humanoid turtles. They live together. Splinter is nicknamed Splinter by the turtles because of a cane that he uses to walk around. And then the turtles are all named after the different Renaissance artists that Splinter had come to love, being Leonardo, Michelangelo, Donatello, and Raphael. Now, in some versions of the origin story, they have Splinter being an actual rat beforehand, but I feel like that makes a little less sense, because then how do they learn the ninjutsu? I mean, some of them give alternative reasons for why they learn ninjutsu or how they learn ninjutsu. Usually it involves like a book or like training tapes or something like that. In the live action movie that came out, they did use this version of the origin story where he was a rat to begin with, and they made a pretty good reasoning for why he would know, because they made him Hamato Yoshi's pet rat he had brought with him to New York. And I guess Hamato passed away or something, or he just ran away from home. Either way, he knew ninjutsu because of the fact that he used to watch his master train. So he would like mimic the moves. It's really fucking stupid, but it makes more sense than, hey guys, here's a book, you know. Okay, enough ranting, let's actually talk about the special. I'm sorry it took this long to get to the special, but if you're still listening, thank you. I appreciate it. Now, so we start off with a little overhead shot of New York, and they zoom in on a glowing manhole cover that actually clips through the car that's driving over it. Just hilarious. So you can already tell the quality of this here special from that alone. Then we see our nightmarish turtles coming out, and they're just kind of like, we get our first musical number of them singing the song "We're the Turtles." It's just an opening song that they use during both this special and the Turtle Tune special, which is just them basically explaining you the premise of what this special will be. Because through the song they basically just say, we're gonna live and sing and all this stuff, and it's stupid. Anywho, we then see them, and we see a little montage also throughout this first musical number, where it shows different little like snippets of scenes that we're also going to be watching in this special. So it's almost like a little Cliff Notes like montage. It's like, that's kind of pointless, but sure, why not? So after that, we have the turtles are decorating their tree in their little home in the sewers. You see they have this like little area in the sewers that they live in. Anyways, they're all decorating the tree, and they keep talking to the camera kind of like a Dora Explorer type way, where they're just like, they keep referencing the kids while they're looking at the cameras, talking to us, to the audience, because I guess in this special they're supposed to be aware that the children are watching them. And while they're decorating, Leonardo, that's the one in the blue mask for those of you uninitiated, I forgot to mention the mask colors also. I'll do a quick rundown real quick. Leonardo wears blue, he's the leader. Raphael wears red, he is the hot-headed, sometimes antisocial one. Michelangelo wears orange, and he's the wacky, like, jokester of the group. And then Donatello wears purple, and he's the scientist of the group. He can make a lot of inventions and whatnot. So he's the smart one, basically. So Leonardo begins to sing a version of Deck the Halls, and for some reason he does a Jamaican accent during this. It doesn't make any sense as to why, because they are not Jamaican at all. They're from New York, and their master is from Japan, so there's no reason that they would be using a Jamaican accent for this song. Not to mention, they don't have a Jamaican accent throughout the rest of the special at all. It's just for this song. I don't understand the point of it, but they do the little song and continue to decorate the tree. And Leonardo even at one point says, "Merry Christmas to the Shredder," which is a very strange thing to wish your arch nemesis, who murdered essentially your father's clan, a Merry Christmas. But sure, I guess you guys are peaceful, but sure. Because like one of the things about the Coming of Our Cheryl's tour was that part of their message was about like music is better than fighting, like a make peace not war type of situation. So dumb. And there's like a nice little record scratch when they say like Merry Christmas to the Shredder part. The weird part to me is that Donatello stops what he's doing, and when the record scratch like silence happens, he picks up like a VHS case, it looks like, puts it in front of his eyes, and just like looks around the room with the case in front of his eyes, just like looks around the room like, oh shit. Like I guess maybe he's trying to hide from the Shredder is what I don't fucking know. It was very confusing and dumb. After that scene finishes, they transition to another scene of them just kind of lazing around, and they all have their different lists that they went through, because I guess everyone had different people they were supposed to buy for, which there's not a lot of people in their lives. Like, their only allies would be themselves, Splinter, of course, April O'Neil, who's their friend that works for the news, Casey Jones, the vigilante I mentioned earlier. And, I mean, not a lot other, honestly. It's like maybe count the Fugitoid, which is another robot character that they meet, like, much later in the comics. Doesn't always appear in the cartoons, but, yeah. They don't have a lot of people to vie for, I would imagine. Although in this world, there are a lot of children that just seem to know they exist and accept that. I don't fucking know. But when they're all looking through the lists, they all ask each other, well, what did you get, Splinter? They're like, well, I didn't have Splinter on my list. I thought you had him, basically. And through this little fiasco, we find out that nobody bought a gift for Splinter. And today is Christmas Eve, so they have a very limited amount of time to go shopping. So Raphael says, well, we gotta get going. We only got so much time to shop, So they all start to leave. They'll leave the sewers, and they basically like narrate, sing as they leave. So, but it's just the song they sing is just a parody of "To Grandmother's House We Go," basically. Over the hills and through the woods, to Grandmother's house we go. That they just do that, and but it's about them leaving the sewer to go to buy a gift. And that is the third song, by the way, within the first 5 minutes of this special. The special only goes on for about 22 minutes, by the way. So they get out of the sewer and then they start singing yet again. There's like almost no break between the third and the fourth song here. But this is another song that's also about buying a gift for Splinter. So it's dumb. What's even dumber is it's kind of catchy, and I hate that. I hate that so much. And we also see some random children who are playing like instruments made out of trash. Like there's one kid like drumming on a trash can and so on and so forth. And the turtles happen upon them, and they're not at all concerned about these gigantic turtles, who also I realize now are wearing boots, which I'm one, surprised they found shoes for themselves, but also two, I'm thankful that I didn't have to look at turtle feet, I suppose. Their hands are bad enough, because turtle hands, in this universe by the way, the turtles' hands just consist of 3 fingers, including their thumb. So imagine if you just had your index and your middle and a thumb, and nothing else. That's what their hand is. And that's weird enough to think about, because in their toes, they usually only have like about 2 toes. So, anyways, let's not get into the weirdness of turtle anatomy. But, they sing their little song about getting a gift for Splinter, and then they surround the children who are playing the trash instruments, and they all raise their hands, and I don't know what they're supposed to be doing, but it kind of looks like, what rhymes with Yahtzee salute. That makes me a little uncomfortable, and I didn't notice that until I was watching this with my friend group in the Alpha Media server I'm in. I didn't realize how much it looks like that until one of the other members brought it up, and I can't unsee it now. And the weirdest part is that song just ends. Like, there's no like build up or anything to the end. It's just them going up to the group, doing a Yahtzee salute, and then just ends. Song's over now. So Raph tells them that there's only 2 hours left, so they better get going. And it's like, well, if there's only 2 hours left, you guys should hurry the fuck up and stop singing. Unfortunately, that is not the last of the singing in this, because as they're, I guess, just wandering through the city or whatever, there's a Christmas tree that's just on a street corner in what looks to be Times Square, and Mikey just stops in front of it. Michelangelo, he just stops in front of it and just starts singing opera in front of the tree. And there's a random Santa Claus like ringing his bell nearby too. I'm guessing he's doing like the Red Cross thing or whatever it is that you usually see at the grocery stores, where they're like ringing the bells for donations. But he's not at all disturbed again about the turtles just existing, which the turtles are supposed to live in secret. Like, dude, why would you have just it makes no sense whatsoever. But he sings an opera song, and all the turtles are like done with his shit, which valid. honestly. And they keep trying to, like, get him to leave. Two of the turtles try to pick him up and, like, move him, but I guess he's too heavy because they kind of pick him up and he like moves a little bit and then they just put him back down and, like, shrug their shoulders like, At one point, Raphael beans him with a goddamn snowball. He just keeps singing, and I was like, I relate a lot to Raphael right now. He always was my favorite turtle after all. Oh yeah, a quick thing I wanted to mention about Raphael as well is, while you may not recognize any of the other actors in this film, because one, you can't see their faces anyways because they were in a goddamn monster suit thing, but the one who plays Raphael's voice, at least, not the actual suit actor from what I can tell, is a man by the name of Eric Anzalone. It may not ring any bells right away, but if you know the group called the Village People, you would recognize him as the biker guy from the Village People. So I just thought that was interesting. This is before he got the part. He actually became part of the Village People in 1995. So yeah, if you don't know who the Village People are, if you know the song YMCA, that's them. That's the easiest way to describe it to you. Just a quick fun fact. But after Michelangelo finally finishes his opera song, Raphael says that there's only 1 hour of shopping left. So remember, we just transitioned from a scene where there's 2 hours of shopping left. So does this mean that Michelangelo sat on a corner and just sang opera for a whole hour while the other turtles just did nothing? Like, if he's just gonna sit there and sing opera, y'all could go get the gifts while he's just leave him there. He can handle himself. He's a fucking ninja. Not to mention, there's a Santa Claus there too, so it's not like he'd be alone. Oh, and also, apparently this isn't the first time he's done this, because before he starts singing, one of the turtles, I think Raphael, says, oh no, he's gonna turn into that opera guy again, or something like that, before he starts to sing. So this clearly isn't the first time this happened. So, just, fucking try a little harder on taking him away. Hell, he wears a goddamn bandana with a long-ass, strand going behind his head. Just grab the strand and pull his ass to the store if you have to. God. Also, another weird note on the costuming department portion of this is that Michelangelo wears a large white scarf throughout the entirety of this special. My only guess, and I've seen this as other people's guesses as well, is that he wore this scarf to help differentiate him from Raphael because of the fact that they both wear similar colors, and that due to the quality of the video, the colors look very close to one another. So since it's orange and red as their respective colors, they decided to give Michelangelo a white scarf to differentiate him from Raphael. So after he sings for a whole fucking hour, I guess, we get a brief montage of the turtles picking out some different gifts, including a yo-yo, some neckties, and a framed pizza that looks like it's already past its expiration date. Honestly, it looks awful. It's got brown pepperonis on it and stuff. It looks awful. Anyways, they take everything home, I assume, and then we get another song here, a rap song now. And this is also the first time the turtles ever rapped, and I'm pretty sure the last. At least I hope the last. There's a weird thing with the turtles and rap. We've had a couple songs about them that were rap songs, but this is the first one that the turtles performed. So they do a rap, let's say W-R-A-P rap about wrapping the gifts. So it's just, and they all do their best attempt at doing like gangsta style poses and stuff, where they're all doing the hand gestures and they keep showing them slapping high five basically, or whatever, or high three, I guess, low three, whatever. It's so dumb. After that, we go to the next morning. It's Christmas Day now, right? And here's where we get the absolute worst song in the special. So Splinter comes out and they start to present their gifts, right? Splinter, first of all, in this version also kind of looks like if you had like an amateur fursuit maker like design his costume. And that's not supposed to be a dig at like fursuit designers, but like he just looks really rough, you know? Because like fursuit designers make great things. Don't get me wrong, like their creations can look amazing, but we all know there are some that are less talented. This is one of their creations. So he just looks like a bad fursuit, not like a good fursuit. Like you can find some good fursuits out there. I may not be a furry, but I know that there are some good quality fursuits out there, and it's not this one, that's for sure. So we then get a torturous song number, basically a cover, parody, whatever you want to call it, of the 12 Days of Christmas. And they go through the whole 12 days, including the repeating and everything. And if you've ever had to sing the 12 Days of Christmas in your school, or if you've ever heard the song, you know what I mean. So that means we get a good about 4 to 5 minutes of them explaining all the gifts that they got for Splinter. To break it down for you, here's what they got. They got him a pepperoni pizza, which was the framed pizza I mentioned earlier that looks like it's gone sour. 2 comic books, which the comic books are TMNT comic books, so they basically got comics of themselves to give to Splinter, which seems stupid. 3 skateboards, which he probably can't ride considering he has to walk with a cane. 4 manhole covers, which that's like the equivalent of giving somebody roof tiles. They already live in the sewer, so, like, what the fuck? 5 video games, which I have never seen Splinter play a video game in my life. 6 frisbees, which again, he's not a very sportsy person. 7 silk kimonos, probably one of the only good gifts. 8 chopsticks, again, good gift. 9 narrow neckties, which he never wears a suit, so no. 10 yellow yo-yos, I don't know. 11 pairs of sneakers, and finally 12 autographs from April O'Neil. Oh yeah, and throughout the whole time of them singing this, there's a bunch of the children from the earlier scene where they were playing that little garbage band. They're just there in the sewers with the turtles, like hanging out and stuff. And it's like, why are these children in the sewer? Where are their parents? Like, my headcanon for these children is that they're homeless, because that's the only thing I can understand. That's the only thing I can, like, reasonably fathom as to why they're in the sewers on Christmas Day instead of with their family. Because my only logical explanation I can come up with is either their family does not care enough about them, or they don't have a family and they're all like orphans or runaways or otherwise homeless. So after that song, even Leonardo says that the song was way too long, basically. Like he's like, wow, that's gotta be the longest song in history or something like that. And it's like, cut your fucking meta commentary bullshit, Leo. Get out of here. And then after that, Michelangelo orders a pizza on the phone, because they have a phone inside the sewers for some reason. I mean, to be fair, one of their later hideouts is an old abandoned train station, like subway station, that happens to connect to the sewers. So I can kind of understand a telephone booth being down there if that's where they're supposed to be. Kind of unclear here where they're at, so who knows. Anyways, they then sing the final song of the night, because that 12 Days is not the final song. But they sing the final song, which is just called We Wish You a Turtle Christmas. So, which is just, we wish you a Merry Christmas, but turtle-fied or whatever. And then after that, we cut to credits. But don't go away now, because we have to gaslight you first. Not kidding. If you stay after the credits roll, you'll hear the turtles talking amongst themselves, and they're all like, wow, those were some great songs, weren't they? And they're like, yeah, except for that 12 Days of Christmas one. That one was really long. Don't let Splinter hear you say that, or something like that. It's like, so it's canonical that even the turtles hated that song. But don't sit here and try to gaslight me into liking the other songs in this fucking special. Don't sit here and be like, oh, those other songs were so amazing, weren't they, kids? It's like, fucking no, they weren't. No. Stop. You cannot convince me otherwise. So yeah, that is the awful mess of a special that is We Wish You a Turtles Christmas. And I have to wonder how it must have felt to either purchase or rent this video when you were a younger child. Because I was born too late to have experienced this. Because it came out in 94, which would have been 4 years before I was born. My brother would have been around 5 at this time, but I don't know if he was in Turtles at that point in his life. But very possible, because the 90s were just filled with Turtles stuff, so it's very possible that he was. But I just have to wonder, like, if you were a kid, you went to Blockbuster, for example, and you're told you get to rent just one videotape or whatever, and you see a TMNT VHS there. And it's the Christmas season, let's say, right? And you see a TMNT Christmas VHS for rent. So you beg your mother, or your father, or other parental guardian, get home, and you watched this on your freaking VCR. I don't think your parents would ever let you pick a movie again, especially if they were watching it with you. But I think that's all I have to say about this train wreck of a movie, or special rather. But yeah, if you want to go torture yourself and you want to experience this movie as well, just go to YouTube and search it up. There's several different uploads of it, and you can also check out the Coming Out of Their Shells tour on there, as well as the Getting It Down in Your Town mini tour and the Turtle Tunes tour, or Turtle Tunes VHS, I mean to say. You can check all of those out on YouTube if you want to check any of them out. And hell, the album for the Coming Out of Their Shells tour, the triple platinum album that they have, is also on Spotify. So, by all means, if you want to, torture yourself at some point, go ahead. Just, I am not liable for any of the cringing and screaming that you may do. But that'll wrap up this episode. Next week we'll be looking at a horror movie entitled Don't Open Till Christmas, and you can catch that on Shudder if you have that service. It was available on Tubi, but has been since taken off. The basic premise of it is a serial killer who hunts down people who dress as Santa, so I guess like mall Santas basically. Actually, I haven't seen it yet, but it sounded interesting, and I decided I may as well check out a few movies blind, why not? So that's what you can expect next time on here. And until then, thank you so much for listening. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. I'm very glad you listened. Be sure to follow me here on Spotify for more content. Follow on Twitter for scheduling and release information. Notified when episodes are out in case Spotify does not tell you. And follow me on Twitter at BFE Podcasts. And lastly, if you have a suggestion for a TV show or movie or other media, be sure to email it to me at broadcastfromelsewhere@gmail.com. So until next time, I'm Enigma, signing off. Y'all have a great day and Merry Christmas.